the share has been on hiatus for a little while, so I want to welcome everyone back
Too
from
long.
the extended. Thank you. It's always good to come to a women's share. You know you're going to get guilt for something. It's wonderful. Thank you, Mrs. Kiwi. So really, I want to welcome everyone back, and I also want to welcome everyone back to our new format for our Wednesday night share, which is now Women's Parsha share. And I want to give a very special thank you really to the two wonderful women that we have working at the show, Julia Shaman, our executive director, to Adina Schwartzbaum, our wonderful office manager, and really, Baruch Hashem, are instrumental in everything we do and helped shape all the different programming. So with that, let's begin. So in these Parshios of Bereshis, there is no shortage of dramatic episodes, dramatic ideas, things that are not only historically important, but the truth is narratives which help shape life in its entirety. You know, the Ramban explains that, you know, there's a fundamental question on Sefer Bereshis. The fundamental question is that the Chumash is not a storybook. The Chumash ultimately, again, Torah is a book of laws. And as such, again, if it's a book of laws, one always has to question the inclusion of any particular story. Why does the Torah tell me stories if at the end of the day it's a book of mitzvos? So the Ramban gives an incredible insight. The Ramban Nachmanides explains, Ma'aseh Avos Siman Labanim. Because what happened to the forefathers is a foreshadow, a metaphoric foreshadow for that which will happen to the children. So in other words, that the event that befell our ancestors in Sefer Bereshis, and it's not just Bereshis, it's the stories in Shmos also, on one level, foreshadow everything that is going to happen to us as a people, but on a really deeper level, really highlight the dynamic of the human condition. The struggles which you find in Sefer Bereshis are the struggles of the human condition, are the struggles of people. They're not just the struggles of thousands of years ago. And the truth is, we read these parshos, I often feel that every year as I get older, I have a different appreciation for these stories. Different stories in different years, because different things speak to us at different times. So, and again, you see all the struggles of life. There are struggles with shalom bayis, right? There are struggles with maintaining marital harmony. There are struggles with raising children. There are struggles with parnasa. There are struggles with health. There are struggles with extended family. Every single struggle that people endure somehow finds its way ultimately into Sefer Bereshis, and it also includes Sefer Shmos, but primarily Bereshis. So these stories require us to look in depth just a bit more, to go beyond just the basic storyline, and try to understand what is HaKadosh Baruch Hu trying to teach us about our lives through these stories. What is the take-home message from these particular episodes? So let's begin number one. And we're going to begin from the beginning of the Parsha. Vayomer Hashem al Avram. If anyone needs source sheets, they're right by me over here at the entrance. Vayomer Hashem al Avram, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avram Avinu, Lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladetcha me'beis avicha ela aretz asher areka. Okay, so according to most of the opinions, this is the first of Avram Avinu's 10 tests. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, Lech lecha, go for yourself from your land, your birthplace, the house of your father, to the land that I will show you. Ve'eschala goy gadol, I will make you into a great nation. Ve'avarechacha, I will bless you. V'agadlo shemecha, I'll make your name great. Ve'yei bracha, and you, Avram, will be a bracha. Ve'avarcha mevarechecha, I will bless those who bless you. U'mekhalalecha aor, I will go ahead and curse those who curse you. Ve'nivrechu b'cha kol mishpacho sa'adama, and ultimately, again, through you, all of the different families of the earth will be blessed. So this pasuk contains many incredible pieces and many dynamic ideas, but I want to draw your attention to one simple thing. Well, let's take a step back. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, Avram Avinu, go. Go. Number one, of course, it's incredibly amazing to notice that what's missing? Where? What's the destination, right? Where are we going exactly? And remember again, lest you think that this is just some type of scavenger hunt, you know, that's going to take Avram Avinu a couple of hours and he'll get to go back home. This is a dramatic life upheaval. Everything he knows he has to leave behind, and he absolutely has no idea where he is going. So already, even without piercing beneath the surface, we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu ultimately is telling us an incredible message. Do you know what it means to believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Do you know what true Emunah means? True Emunah means that you accept the fact that you're not driving the bus. That you accept the fact that the truth is you might think you know where you're going, but you don't really know where you're going. The truth is, all of us experience this in life, where we embark on a particular life journey. I think I'm going in a particular direction. I think I'm going to a particular destination. And then what happens? I end up somewhere dramatically different. Sometimes the new destination is better. Sometimes it's more difficult. But one thing becomes abundantly clear. I make my plans for where I think I need to go. But at the end of the day, I don't actually choose the destination. In fact, what's our avoda? What's our job in life? Our job in life is to maximize whatever destination HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings us to. I have to try to figure out where I want to go. Can't sit back and wait for God to plan everything. I have to plan, but when the plan changes, which inevitably it always does, I have to say, if this is where I am, this is where HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants me. And if this is where HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants me, then by definition, I must figure out how to maximize this destination. And it's here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Aaron Avinu two things which we're going to focus on. Number one, of course, is a basic question, which is asked by many of the Mefarshim. God, just tell Aaron Avinu, Lech Lecha, done. Why do you need to say, Me'artzecha, from your land, your birthplace, your father's home? Just as, remember again, all HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs to tell Aaron Avinu is Lech Lecha, go. He's not disclosing the location, so Aaron Avinu automatically knows that he's going to keep traveling until when? Until when? Until God tells him you're here. That's it. So why all the need from your land, from your birthplace? First of all, it's repetitive, right? Once he tells him to leave his land, your land by definition, now your land may or may not be your birthplace, but biblically speaking, people didn't move around all that much. So your land includes your birthplace, your land includes your father's home. Why do you need to spell all three of those out? But the truth is, there's a more fundamental question, and it's perhaps the most asked question on this pasuk. Why Lech Lecha? That phrase seems to be redundant and unnecessary. The pasuk could have just read what? Vayomer Hashem al Avram? Lech. Go. Why Lech Lecha? Why the need? Literally translated, Lech Lecha, go for you. Why the need? So those are the two questions we're going to focus on tonight. Primarily, Lech Lecha, what does it mean, go for you? Just say go. And why the need to expound upon all of these different legs of the journey, from your land, from your birthplace, from your father's home. So, let's skip a little bit. Take a look at number 2. We're going to go out a little bit out of order. So the Medrash says something amazing. The Medrash writes over here, Am Rabbi Avin, Mashal Litzluches Shal Plaitum. So Rabbi Avin says, Avram's journey can be compared ultimately to something very interesting, which is a little flask of perfume, which is housed Hanasuna Bebeis HaKvaros. A flask of perfume that was left in a cemetery. What's the problem with the perfume in the cemetery? Adam Yodea Recha. If there's one place where people don't usually stop to smell the flowers, right, or the perfume, it's the cemetery, right? People go in, people go out. So there's a beautiful, fragrant flask of perfume, and it's sitting in the cemetery. So what's the issue? Ma'asa. So the owner of the perfume, or the manufacturer of the perfume, knows what a beautiful scent this is. So what does he do? Natlua, he takes it out of the cemetery. V'tiltilua mi makom lemakom, and he goes there and he takes it from place to place. Vodia recha ba'olam, and he wants everyone to smell the fragrance, because if everyone smells the fragrance, then what? What's going to happen? They're going to all want some. So listen to the nimshal. Kach haya Avram dar bisoch ovdekum. Where was Avram Avinu living? Avram Avinu was living in an idolatrous setting, an idolatrous place. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lech lecha me'artzecha, v'ani odia tuvcha ba'olam. It's actually so beautiful. So in the Nimshal, in the parable, who's the flask of perfume? The flask of perfume is Avram Avinu. The cemetery represents again the surroundings in which Avram Avinu finds himself. He's in a spiritual cemetery. It's dormant. There is nothing happening. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, let me take you out of the cemetery and let the world enjoy your spiritual fragrance. So according to the Medrash, what's happening over here is something exceptionally dramatic. The journey of Lech Lecha is not only a journey for Avram Avinu. The journey of Lech Lecha is a journey for who? For HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but more importantly, for mankind. Mankind is going to get the opportunity to catch the scent of the beautiful, fragrant perfume. This is an important idea, not our topic for today, but Avram Avinu, the greatest question we have during these psukim, during these parshios, is God promises Avram Avinu over and over and over that your offspring are going to be like the stars of the sky, like the sand on the shore. And what's the problem? It's not true. It never ends up happening. It never ends up happening. But it does. Why? Because Avraham Avinu becomes the father of the three major faiths. Christianity, Islam, and Judaism all trace their roots back to an Abrahamic patriarch. Avraham Avinu leaves an incredible spiritual impact and imprint upon global spirituality. Everything comes from Avraham Avinu. Hi, Alice, how are you?
Hello.
Nice to see you. Everything comes from Avraham Avinu. So ultimately, again, what's happening over here, says the Medrash, is that Avraham, you have so much to contribute. You have so much good you can do, but you need to get out of there. Which, by the way, we're going to come back to this theme. But what I want you to think about is an incredibly profound idea. If you want to be successful in life, you have to put yourself in the right surroundings. You could have incredible talent. You could have incredible abilities. You could have incredible kochos. But if you do not plant yourself in the right surroundings, then you're like the fragrant flask of perfume that is sitting in the cemetery. Does it smell good? Sure, it smells good. But who cares? Because it can't do anything. It can't spread that fragrance. It can't go ahead and inspire others with that fragrance. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avraham Avinu, do you need to leave your homeland in order to be great? Do you need to? No, Avraham Avinu could be great wherever he is. But mankind will not be impacted on you unless you go ahead and you leave the comfort of your surroundings and you go out into the world. Sometimes to be successful, you have to be courageous enough to change your surroundings. And don't we encounter this challenge all of the time? Because most of us don't like changing our surroundings for one simple reason, which is
We're comfortable.
we're comfortable. I just, that was good. You've been here like 3 minutes when you already got there. Excellent. Right? So ultimately, we get comfortable. We get comfortable in our physical structures. We get comfortable in our relationships. We get comfortable with our peer groups. We get comfortable in our careers. We get comfortable in our spiritual aspirations. And the truth is, I don't really feel like rocking the boat. And the truth is, most people live life without rocking the boat. And they realize, sometimes it's on their deathbed, sometimes when it's just too old to change anything, that you know what? I settled for comfort. I settled for comfort. I settled for ease. And I lived my life like a fragrant flask in the cemetery. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu, I'm not going to let you do that. If you notice over here, Avraham Avinu doesn't choose Lech Lecha, although he kind of does, because remember his journey begins in last week's Parsha already. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you have too much to contribute to remain in these circumstances. Lech Lecha, you got to get out of here. Because although it will not be easy in the new world that you're going to encounter, one thing is clear. This is a spiritual cemetery, and there is only so much you can go ahead and accomplish. Which, by the way, if you think about this, is an incredible idea. Because don't we often face the challenge in life of sometimes, when do I push harder to maximize my current circumstances? And when do I say, my current circumstances are no longer suitable? I have to do something dramatically different. I need a Lech Lecha moment. So, and again, life is filled with this tension. The great benefit that Avraham Avinu has is, or was, that God spoke to him. It's always helpful when God speaks to you and tells you what to do. So Avraham Avinu doesn't have a choice. I mean, he has a choice, but he hears the word of God. But this is the tension we face. We find ourselves in circumstances that I know in my heart are subpar. So do I go ahead and push and push and push and push to maximize my current circumstances? Or do I say, no, this is broken. This is broken. This is not good. Whatever the life framework somehow has to change. Avraham Avinu gets an explicit directive from God. We have to intuit ourselves. Take a look at number 3. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov advances an incredible idea over here. So we saw the Medrash. So the Medrash, the whole idea is that, now again, what I didn't put on the sheet is Rashi, where Rashi's whole approach is that God's selling point to Avraham Avinu, and this is the Lech Lecha. Rashi says, Lech Lecha, go for you, L'tovascha u'la'nascha. It's going to benefit you. Life is going to be better for you if you go ahead and you leave. Remember, one of the most powerful ways to induce change is how? Right? Is to convince a person that change is beneficial. A person chas v'shalom is suffering with an addiction. So what do we tell a person who's suffering with an addiction? You ask them, the first step is, can you imagine what your life would look like if you overcame your addiction? Can in your mind's eye, can you see for yourself what life looks like post-addiction or in recovery? Can you imagine that? Because if you could imagine that change holds something beautiful for you, then that gives you the motivation to change. If I can't imagine that change holds anything all that great for me, so then why do I want to rock the boat? So according to Rashi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Rambam, I need you to go. I know it's a dramatic change, but it's going to be beneficial for you. Because it's beneficial, it's worth your while. Comes along Rabbi Nachman. And Rabbi Nachman of Breslov advances a dramatically different idea. The truth is, it's not just Rabbi Nachman. You find it in much of Hasidic literature, this same concept. Take a look at number 3. Take a look at number 3. So look at number 3, paragraph A. Lech Lecha. So the Rabbi Nachman understands this phrase in a literal way. Lech Lecha, he says, means V'zeu Lech Lecha, Lecha Daika. What's the literal translation of the phrase Lech Lecha? Go to you. Go see. We often translate it, and this is how many of the Mefarshim translated it, as go for you. So God is telling Avram Avinu, go, because the journey itself, the upheaval associated with the journey is beneficial for you. Rabbi Nachman says, no, that's not what it means. Lech Lecha means go to you. What does it mean, go to you? Shekoli Luchach, paragraph A, number 3. Shekoli Luchach, unisiascha yelecha, ve'elecha levad, hainu le'etzem nekudas ha'emes, sheze ikarcha v'chiyuscha. I'm just going to read one more line, I'll translate. Ki ikar ha'adam, hu ha'neshama ha'kidosha shebo. I want to tell you something very important. A person has to ask themselves a very simple question. What am I? Am I a body which contains a soul, or am I a soul which is housed by a body? Now that is not semantics. That gets to the very core of self-definition. Am I primarily a physical being who happens to have a spark of spirituality? So that's a body that houses a soul. Or am I a soul? Really, I'm a spark of divinity. As the Baal Tanya writes, I'm a piece of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm a piece of God. I just happen to need a physical shell in order to impact this physical world. Which way do I define myself? So Rabbi Nachman says, of course. Now again, it's not of course, but Rabbi Nachman saying the ideal is that I am a soul which is housed by a body. I am a soul which is housed by the body. In my essence, I am a spark of God. In my essence, I am Tzelem Elokim. I'm in the image of God. I need a physical body because I need to impact the physical world. Without physicality, I can't impact the physical world. But the best proof to this is there's only one part of my being which is eternal, and it's not my guf, it's not my body, it's my neshama. So the Rebbe says something amazing. What is your true essence in life? Your true essence is the identity, the quality, and the nature of your soul. And therefore says the Rebbe, Ki ikar ha'adam hu ha'neshama kedosha shebo. The primary part of a person is his or her neshama. Shezeh kol ha'adam. For the neshama, the soul, is the entirety of man. Kimo shekasa b'sar mur b'dip kidvar b'simcha beis. Shema shenikra eitz ha'adam ani hu rak etzem ha'neshama. So skip a little bit to paragraph C. V'zeu lech lecha. Says Rabbi Nachman, this is the meaning of the divine command, lech lecha. Go to yourself. Hainu. Shetelech lecha la'atzmecha. Dahainu la'etzem ha'emes shalcha ha'mushrash b'cha sherak nikra ani. Kishadam adar al-atzmos. Let me tell you the rest outside. Rabbi Nachman says so beautifully. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avram Avinu something amazing. I have great plans for you. You have an exceptional destiny, but the prerequisite to actualizing your destiny is self-discovery. Who are you? Avram, who are you? Who are you? At your core, who is the Ani? Who is the Neshama? You know what Kadosh Baruch Hu said? Avram Avinu said, by the way, if you were to ask Avram Avinu, who are you? What would he say? What would he say? If someone asks you, someone has to ask you the question, who are you? What would you answer? We often answer the question of self-definition through relationships. Who am I? I'm so-and-so's husband. I'm so-and-so's father. I'm so-and-so's child. I'm so-and-so's spouse. I'm so-and-so's friend, you know my third cousin twice removed, right? That's how we do it. We often define ourselves by relationships. Rabbi Nachman says, imagine for a moment, if someone said to you, don't tell them, I don't care who you're related to. I don't even, for this moment, care who you're married to. I don't care who your kids are. I don't care who your parents are. Peel away all the life relationships. Who are you? What are you in your essence? What is your neshama? Now, what we're really asking over here is, what is your identity at your core? What kind of person are you? What are your qualities? What are your traits? What are your characteristics? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Don't tell me what your relationships are. Tell me who you are. So it says, Rabbi Nachman, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avraham Avinu, you're about to be the father, really, of spiritual humanity. You're about to be the father of the Jewish people, and every step you take foreshadows every step that your descendants will take. Avram, before you go ahead and embrace your destiny, I need you to do something first. Very simple. What's the simple task? Lech, Lecha. Go and find yourself. No, I don't care that you're Sarai's husband. That's very nice. It doesn't matter to me that you're Lot's uncle or that you're Terach's son. Those things don't matter to me. Who are you? Who are you? Now you understand that profundity? Do you know that one of the greatest people often encounter this identity crisis in life? You know when they encounter this identity crisis in life? Most people encounter it
when they're older.
When your kids grow up and are out of the house. When your kids grow up and they're out of the house, people often have this incredible identity crisis. Why? Because all of these years, I was a mother. Right? That means, if you ask me, like, what's my, I'm a mother. That's what I'm taking care of the mishpach. I'm taking care of the kids. I'm taking care of the house. I'm working. I'm doing a million different things. My job is the sustainer, right? And the nurturer. Okay, beautiful, fantastic, incredible. Now suddenly everybody's out of the house. You hear the crickets chirping, right? Besides from the shalom bias components that come along with that, right? So now suddenly, so what happens? Now I'm faced, so who am I? So, okay, of course I'm still a mother, I'm still a father, I'm still a this, but that's not what occupies my days now. So what am I? At my core, who am I? What is my identity? And it's amazing to see how many of us cannot answer this question. Just imagine for a moment, you're walking out of the shir tonight, and someone asks you, tell me who you are, not who you're related to, in one sentence or less.
Okay.
Right? You're special, Iris. Most people, right? Most people cannot. Most people can't articulate it because most times we go ahead and we define ourselves ultimately by our utilitarian roles in life. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu, before you go and embrace your destiny, Lech Lecha. Go and find yourself. But yes, of course, the $1 million question becomes what? How do I find myself? Right? How do I go ahead and ultimately find myself? How do I discover who I am? Now, what's amazing to note over here is as follows. Sometimes we assume that the path to personal discovery and growth is often paved with positive dynamic activity. If I want to discover who I am, so I first have to, I'm going to do A, B, C, and D. But amazing enough, that's not how you find yourself. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu, by extension us, how do I figure out who I am? So look at number 4. Rabbi Nachman goes on, he says, V'zehu. This is the meaning of the second part of the pasuk. V'zehu. Lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladcha be'savicha. So remember again, now we have a working definition for Lech Lecha, right? Our working definition for Lech Lecha is not simply go for yourself, like Rashi and even the Medrash wanted to say, but rather it's go to yourself. Go and find out who you are. So what's the first step in that journey of self-discovery? And by the way, I want to point out, the answer to who you are, you also know, is not a static answer. We are different people in different stages of life. If you're the same person when you're 40 as you were as when you're 20, there's something wrong with that. Our identity, our self-kite, right? Our essence evolves and changes as we go through life. So how do I discover this? Look what Rabbi Nachman says. Number 4, paragraph A. V'zeu lech lecha me'aretz mo'lachem be'savicha. Get ready for this. Ki kama minei choshech u'shkarim nimshachim me'artzecha. So the first thing God tells Avraham Avinu is what? Is to leave your land. To leave your land. What does it mean to leave your land? So the Rebbe says, Tahainu me'a'ir v'hamadina sheniskadol ba, ki ze yadua sheklipa kadma lepri. I'm just going to read a few lines and I'm going to translate. U'b'chol eretz u'b'chol makom afav yisheshim harei tov, aval yish b'chol makom kam minei chashechos hamachshichem es ha'emes, Tahainu ma'ashe b'chol eretz rubam rodfim achar taivas, u'b'prat achar hamamon v'akabim. Rabbi Nachman says something amazing. Do you know what it means, eretz? Eretz means land, earth, earth. The earth is the ultimate paradigmatic representation, Basil, of materialism. So says HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Avraham Avinu, the first thing is, if you want to discover who you are, you have to make sure that you're not placing an overemphasis on materialism. Now let's talk about this for just a moment. Because part of the beauty of Judaism is that we are not taught that in order to find God, you have to be an ascetic. Right? There are other religions that preach this idea, that if you want to find God, you essentially have to divorce yourself from any type of earthly or physical pleasure. So you have to be an ascetic, you have to swear off material wealth, you have to be celibate. All of these things, they say these are all distractions. The beauty of Yiddishkeit is that we don't believe that. We believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a beautiful physical world, and He created a world with a variety of physical and material pleasures. All HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to us is what? Enjoy it, but enjoy it responsibly. If you're going to enjoy the material world in some way, then as long as you find a way to allow it to bring you closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then use it, then enjoy it. Which, by the way, is an incredible way to look at materialism. Sometimes a person wants to know, is this material item good or not? It's a very simple question. Does this further my relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and with my fellow Jew or not? If it does, go for it. If it doesn't, then don't go for it. If you can't figure it out, I guess you have to think harder. Right? So the first thing HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu is, if you want to discover who you are, step number one is make sure you have a healthy relationship with the material world. Meaning, what I want to point out is something amazing. One of the things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises Avraham Avinu is what? Wealth. So obviously, if wealth is bad, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't go ahead and promise it. So obviously, wealth is not bad. What becomes bad is when wealth becomes the ends and not the means. Material blessing is exceptional as long as you use it somehow in the pursuit of some element of spirituality. So the first thing is Lech Lecha me'artzecha. Avraham, you want to find yourself? Well, finding yourself is an introspective spiritual pursuit. The only way to be a truly spiritual person is if you have a healthy relationship with materialism. If you have an overemphasis or an overindulgence in the material, it's going to be hard to engage in an introspective spiritual journey. What's the next piece? Skip a little bit. Mimoladitcha. So what happens? The first thing is artzecha. Next is leave moladitcha. So if you look on the left-hand side, the left-hand column by the paragraph D, number 4. So what's moladitcha? Your birthplace. This is amazing. Dahainu sheyetze mehara v'hachoshech sheyesh bo mitzat haolada bechinas hein ba'avon holalti. Get ready for this. Rabbi Nachman says, doesn't mean to leave your birthplace. He says birthplace represents the traits, characteristics, desires, proclivities that we are born with. Each of us is born with certain dispositions. Each of us is born with certain character traits. Each of us are born with certain, we'll call it predispositions. Do those predispositions, traits, behaviors define us? Only if we allow them to. A person has the ability to overcome anything they put their mind to. You were born a certain way? No, there are certain people who just have a short fuse. They just, the Rambam speaks about this. The Rambam says that, the Rambam in Hilchos Deos writes that he always speaks about the derech hamuzah, the middle path. So in the realm of midos, in the realm of character traits, a person is supposed to have a good synthesis of a variety of traits. The Rambam says there's one midah that you really, one attribute, one character trait that you really have to eradicate. And that is, according to the Rambam, kas. He says anger. Anger is a terrible thing. So says Rambam, what if someone says, well, you know what am I supposed to do? I'm just an angry person. There are some people who are just angry people. Just their nature is such that they're just angry, short-tempered. So the Rambam says, so what happens again if you're always getting angry? What do? Get ready for this incredible pull of Maimonidean wisdom. What do if you have an anger issue, a temper issue? What the Rambam says? Stop getting angry. Like, I could have been the Rambam. Right? Stop getting angry. So do you understand the profundity in that statement? The Rambam says essentially, stop being a victim to your innate predispositions. Change. If you want to change, you could change. If you want it, now again, it doesn't mean that it's easy, and it doesn't mean that it just happens, and it doesn't mean that it's not a lifetime. So the person says, okay, I'm changed, and suddenly again the struggle's over, everything is fine. No, change is grueling. In fact, the Ramchal Moshe Matzata writes that it is easier to learn through the entire Torah than it is to go ahead and change one character trait. And you know why change is so hard? Number one, because we're change averse, but also because we are born with certain traits. We are born a certain way. There are some people who just are born with just a shorter fuse. There are some people who are more tolerant. There are some people who are nicer. There are some people who are gruffer. There are some people who are more giving. More people who are stingy. There are certain genetic predispositions that we're born with. And therefore, so we have a choice. A person could say, this is who I am. This is who I am. This is how you created me. Or a person could say, God, this is how you created me for whatever the reason. I am taking it upon myself to overcome this trait, this behavior, this attitude, because it's detrimental to me. This, says Rabbi Nachman, is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu when he says, leave moladetcha. Birthplace is not a geographic location. Birthplace means overcome, transcend the personality flaws or the deficiencies, the handicaps or the difficulties that you are born with. Just because you have the predisposition doesn't mean that you have to allow it to define you. If you want to change, you have the ability to do so. An incredible, which by the way tells you something amazing. If God is telling Sarah Malvina, what does it say? What does it tell us? That we can do it. What else does it tell us? I'm sorry? That Avram had issues. Isn't it so life-affirming to hear that Avram Avinu had issues? I know it might sound like a little bit like Gabi Karsus, right? Avram Avinu had issues. He had issues. Because if he didn't have issues, then why would God tell him this stuff? And by the way, that's not a knock on Avram Avinu. Every human being has issues. Who doesn't have issues? Which one of us is not born with some personality quirk or some attribute or some trait that I know is not good? I know it doesn't further my life agenda. I know that it's actually not going to advance me embracing my destiny. But I've known about it for years, and whatever, I just accept it as is. And when people even challenge me on it, my retort always is, this is the way I am. As if that's some kind of excuse. Right? This is the way I am. Avram, I know you've got stuff. I'm telling you, Lecha. I'm telling you that you have to overcome it. You have to transcend it. You have to find a way to overcome even those things which are innate to you. Which brings us to the last one. Look at the bottom of paragraph D, the end of source number 4 on the first page. Umi Beis Avicha. Get ready for this one. What does Beis Avicha mean? Beis Avicha, says the Rebbe, Shehu Mishpachto. Beis Avicha means your family. Why? Listen to what Rabbi Nachman writes. Ki yesh kama shtusim ushkarim. Turn the page. Shenidbak bo mitzad mishpachto. This also is so affirming. So Rabbi Nachman says, every family has its stuff. And look at his wording over here. Shtusim. You know what shtusim means? Right? Silliness. Shkarim.
Mishdrash.
No, shkarim means something much more severe, which means what? Lies. Every single family has problems that they ignore. Every single family has issues that they sweep under the carpet. Every single family has issues that they make a conscious decision not to deal with. Every family has shtusim and shkarim. It's Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. Every family has it. Shenidbak v'misam mishpachton shemachzikin atzman l'miyuchasim gidolim u'ki'ilu kol hakavod shaychem on the second page u'kayotzi bazeh shtar shtusim u'bilbulim. Why? Because no family wants to admit that they're dysfunctional. Right? No family wants to admit that they're problems. That's why if you grow up in a family that has some level of dysfunction, which every family has some level of dysfunction, because dysfunction is part of the nature of the human condition. The only reason you might think that your parents and your family is perfect is why? Because that's how you grew up. Because very often, the first time we really get a real insight, even when you're growing up and if you have friends and you see other families, very often the first time you really begin to see how another family operates is when? Is really when a person gets married. Because then you're actually tethered to another family, like it or not. Right? You are tethered to another family. So suddenly again you begin to see, okay, people do things differently. And sometimes you discover how lucky you are, right, in the family you grew up in. Sometimes you discover how dysfunctional the family you grew up in. But again, that's what you knew. Rabbi Nachman says every single family has issues. And this is an important idea to understand because it's a wonderful tool in parenting as well. Every single parent has issues. Why? Because let's trace this back. Parents are human beings. Human beings have issues. As we just saw, even Avraham Avinu has issues. So when human beings become parents, they don't suddenly lose their baggage. In fact, often the baggage becomes amplified. That baggage is brought into their child rearing, which then means that the baggage now becomes part of the familial home's fabric. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu something amazing. I need you to leave Beis Avicha. Avram, you know, there's a lot of baggage you have. By the way, let's take a step back. Avraham Avinu does have an incredible amount of baggage from his family. Remember again, what did Avraham Avinu's father do to him?
Put him in a furnace.
Right, I'm saying whatever relationship you might have or don't have with your parent, one thing I can say with almost certainty, your parent never tried to put you in a furnace. Right? Avraham Avinu's father, remember again, challenges him theologically and ultimately orders, I mean he doesn't do it directly, but he hands him over to Nimrod, who has Avraham Avinu thrown into a fiery furnace as punishment for spreading the word of monotheism. And Terach, his father, is watching. Do you understand the trauma involved in that? Avraham Avinu was an adult man. But still, again, our relationships with our parents are some of the most important life relationships we have. Even in our adult lives, they leave an incredible impact on us. Avraham Avinu goes through this relationship trauma. Now the truth is, there's good news. Avram and Terach patch things up, however you do that after that type of episode. They patch things up, and we know that why. We know that because Avram Avinu begins the journey with, this is amazing, we often don't realize this detail. Lech Lecha actually came earlier than it's recorded in the Torah. Lech Lecha actually occurred at the end of last week's Parsha, and when they start out, Terach is accompanying Avram. There comes a certain point in the journey where HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Terach, because Baruch tells Avram, you need to leave your father behind. Your father cannot come with you on this journey. Which, by the way, think about that for just a moment. Terach is an elderly man, and Avraham Avinu was told, you cannot bring Terach with you on the journey. This is a journey you have to take by yourself. Why can't Terach come? Right? What is he going to do? He's an old man already. What is he going to do? Because there are certain relationships which are unhealthy. There are certain relationships which are toxic. There are certain relationships which, again, just prevent me from self-actualizing for a variety of different reasons. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu, your relationship with your father is not a beneficial one. Your relationship with your extended family is not beneficial. By the way, we see this clearly in this week's Parsha. Avram takes Lot with him, but remember, it's only a matter of time until things between Lot and Avram sour. For one simple reason, they have two dramatically different agendas. And therefore, at a certain point in time, they both go their own way. Therefore, says Rabbi Nachman, this is mi beis avicha. Mi beis avicha means sometimes you have to learn how to leave the shtuyot of your family behind. Now, Avraham Avinu's example is a dramatic one. He goes on, he says, Mikulam siva Hashem yisparach sheyetze v'yelech mehem. So ultimately, again, Avraham Avinu's case, he has to leave behind his family because it's a handicap for him. It's like a weight around his ankle that is going to keep pulling him down and will not allow him to ascend, will not allow him to embrace his destiny. You have to leave Beis Avicha. So you begin to see something absolutely and dramatically amazing. Says Rabbi Nachman, HaKadosh Baruch Hu commands Avraham Avinu, Lech Lecha. Before you go ahead and you start preaching monotheism, and you start changing it, because you know Avraham Avinu's dream is to change the world. Was he successful? he was, just not during his lifetime. He was very successful. He set the foundation. He failed miserably during his lifetime, and he didn't get to change the people he wanted to. He didn't get to change the world in the way that he wanted to. But amazingly enough, when you put in effort in this world, it never goes to waste. Sometimes it bears fruit after you're long gone. We are here today because of Avraham Avinu. He was in a resounding success, just not during his 175 years on the face of this earth. So the Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu, before you go to embrace your destiny, I need you to do something else. Lech, Lecha. I need you to find yourself. How do you find yourself? How do you do it? So Rabbi Nachman says 3 steps. 3 steps. Number 1, me'artzecha. You have to create a healthy relationship with the material world. I don't need you to be an ascetic. I don't need you to swear off material or physical pleasures, but I need you to make sure that they do not become the dominant feature or the dominant pursuit of your existence. Enjoy the material world, but enjoy it responsibly. Because if materialism becomes too much in excess, if it becomes the defining aspect of your existence, you cannot be a spiritual person if you have a preoccupation with the material world. That's artzecha, mimoladetcha, armavinu. There's certain stuff that you were born with. I need you to make a conscious decision to change. And Avram, you know it has to be changed. You know it has to be tweaked. You know it has to be eradicated. You know it has to be amplified. You're born with your predispositions, your desires, your wants, your proclivities, all the different things. Avram, I need you to overcome them. I need you to change them. And lastly, mi beis avicha. Avram, I'm going to need you to try to overcome some of the stuff you learned in your home. Because not everything you grow up with is helpful for the life you're going to make. Not every relationship in your family is going to be helpful for the life you want to make. And therefore, Avram, there were shtusim and shkarim. There was silliness, there were lies, there were falsehoods that you grew up with. I need you to figure out a way to leave that behind. So it turns out that according to Rabbi Nachman, the journey to the self doesn't actually begin by anything you per se do. The journey to the self begins with a very simple yet profound realization that change is possible. If I want to discover who and what I really am, I must accept the premise that change is possible. That the person who I am is not the person I need to always be. If I want to change myself, I can do that. If I want to change my relationship with materialism, I can do that. If I want to change my innate characteristics, I can do that. If I want to unload the baggage from my family, I can do that. You know, everyone walks around with baggage. You know, just the difference is some people just have a carry-on, and some people have to hire a porter, right, to take everything. But everyone has baggage. But the beautiful part is no matter how much baggage you have, everyone is offered the same opportunity at the desk. And that is, ma'am, would you like to check that? Would you like to check that? You can't avoid the baggage that life saddles you with, but you absolutely make a choice if you continue to schlep it around with you or not. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu, I'm telling you that if you want to check your baggage, you can. I want to tell you that if you want to change, you can. I want to tell you that if you want to be a different kind of person, you can. And it's only if you accept your ability to change and to become someone greater, then and only then will you have the ability to discover the real you. And only if you discover the real you do you have the ability to embrace the beautiful destiny that I have waiting for you. Amazingly enough, if you look at number 6, Rabbi Sachs writes almost an identical idea to Rabbi Nachman. He just quotes some different sources. So Rabbi Sachs writes as follows. He says, Marx, speaking about Karl Marx, the German philosopher, said that man is a product of social forces, themselves shaped by the interests of the ruling class, the owners of property, which the most significant is land. Therefore, God said to Avram, leave your land. So by the way, just I want to point out, this is different than Rabbi Nachman. What Rabbi Sachs is suggesting is that me'artzecha, leave your land, actually is not materialism. It's social pressure. It's social pressure. Avram, you have to rise above social pressure. How much do we do in life to fit in? how much do we do in life because I don't want to look different, behave different? Now, by the way, I want to point out, conformity is not always a bad thing. Conformity, if it's the right kind of conformity, positive peer pressure, could be amazing. But we face all kinds of other social pressures, which are incredibly unhealthy or sometimes just downright wrong. Rabbi Sachs says, Me'artzecha means leave the social pressures behind. And by the way, if you want to understand Avram Avinu, Avram is called Avram HaIvri. Why was he called Avram HaIvri? Why is it called the Ivri? It's because Rashi points out that Ivri is like Me'evra on the other side. If you can imagine, humanity stood on one side of the river, and Avram Avinu stood on the other side of the river. Avram Avinu was alone in this world. He had but one real partner in this world, and that was Sarah Imenu. We'll talk about that more next week. His beloved Sarah was his only partner in this world. He has no friends, he has no acquaintances, he has no buddies, there's no kid guys from yeshiva. He's by himself in this world. But sometimes, when you seize your destiny to become great, sometimes you have to let the social connections and the friendships you have to let go of them. Why? Because that's what said Rabbi Sachs, that's me'artzecha. Because if you want to do something great in life, you have to be able to leave the social pressures behind. And sometimes the greater the destiny, the more social pressures you have to unload. That's me'artzecha. Spinoza, he's talking about over here, Baruch Spinoza, Benedict D. Spinoza was a Dutch philosopher, died in 1677. Spinoza said that man is made by innate instincts and biological drives given by birth, positing a genetic determinism. Therefore, God said to Avram, leave the circumstances of your birth. So just like Rabbi Nachman, Moladetcha means leave the circumstances of your birth, leave aside, transcend your birth predispositions, your innate predispositions. Freud said that we are the way we are because of the traumas of childhood, the influence of our early years, our relationships and rivalries with our parents, especially our father. Therefore, God said to Avraham, leave your father's house. Sometimes in life there are relationships which are negative, which are toxic, which are unhealthy. I have to find the strength to, and by the way, sometimes it's not even so severe. Sometimes there's relationships that are just not conducive for my growth. They're just not good for me. You know, we all have people in life that when you're around them, it's fine, they're not hurting me, but after I'm with them, I don't feel good. I just don't feel good. I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel good about life. So I have to learn to leave those relationships behind because they hold me back. So I want to end with Rabbi Sachs' last paragraph. Freedom is not a given of the human condition. Like other distinctive achievements of the spirit, art, literature, music, poetry needs training, discipline, apprenticeship, the most demanding routines, and the most painstaking attention to detail. No one composed the great novel or symphony without years of preparation. That is why most theories of human behavior are simply false. They claim that we are either free or not. Either we have choice or our behavior is causally determined. Freedom is not an either or. It is a process. It begins with dependence and only slowly, gradually does it become liberty. The ability to stand back from the pressures and influences upon us and act in response to educated conscience, judgment, wisdom, moral literacy. In short, it is a journey. Abraham's journey. Then Rabbi Sachs says the same thing as Rabbi Nachman. I don't know if you realize Rabbi Nachman said it. This is the deep meaning of the words Lech, Lecha. Normally they are translated as go, leave, travel. What they really mean is journey, Lech, to yourself, Lecha. Leave behind all external influences that turn you into a victim of circumstances beyond your control and travel inward to the self. It is there, only there, that freedom is born, practiced, and sustained. So what comes out over here is something dramatically amazing. That before, and again, we understand already without even talking it out, the incredible application this has to our lives. Before you go out and change the world, before you embrace your destiny, I need you to find who you are. Not who you're related to. Don't define yourself by your relationships. I want you to find the true you. How do I find the true me? So ultimately, Rabbi Nachman and Rabbi Sachs both suggest the same idea, which is the journey to the self is ultimately created or is paved by a recognition that I can be whoever I want to be. I am free. I may not be free to go ahead and choose all of my external circumstances. but I am free to check my baggage. I am free to let go of the things which hold me back. I am free to become someone greater than I currently am. I am free to shirk off social pressures. I am free from losing myself ultimately in materialism. I am free to overcome even my innate predispositions. And I am free to let go of relationships and of peer associations which are detrimental to my growth. The moment I realize that I can be who I want to be, that's the beginning of the journey inward. The moment that I realize that I can be who I want to be, I am not a victim of circumstance. I'm not a victim of some genetic predisposition, but I can be who I choose to be in that moment. That's when the journey Lech Lecha, the journey inward to the self begins. And so this journey, you understand, of Lech Lecha begins way before Avram Avinu ever gets to Canaan. This is why now you begin to understand, by the way, why doesn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu give Avram Avinu the destination? Right? Why doesn't he plug in Eretz Yisrael? Why doesn't he plug it in? Because that actually wasn't the first leg of the journey. See, everyone thinks Lech Lecha means go to Eretz Yisrael. No, going to Eretz Yisrael is the second part of the journey. But you can only journey to Eretz Yisrael after you first journey to yourself. So, the great tzaddik Magid of Mezrich says that it wasn't just Avram Avinu who had a Lech Lecha journey. All of us have a Lech Lecha journey. It's a journey we have to take each and every day to try to figure out who we are, what we are. I'm reminded of the phrase of the Ramchal. When Moshe Chaim Luzzatto writes, with this I'll conclude, he writes in the opening chapter of the Silas Yisharim, he says that a person has to ask themselves one simple question. Ma chovasal ba'olamo. What is my job? What is my requirement in this world? What is the Ramchal saying? He says, from the time that we're little, so we ask, what do I want to be when I grow up? So the Ramchal says, that's not really the question that Jew asks him or herself. I don't ask what I want to be when I grow up. I ask, what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu need me to be when I grow up? So there are some people who what they want to be and what God wants them to be are the same things. Those are the lucky ones. For many of us, what I want to be and what apparently God wants me to be are very often two dramatically different things. And I have to figure out ultimately again how to rise to the destiny that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for me. Even if it's not, say, the destiny I wanted for myself. But in order for me to discover that, I have to take that journey inward, the Lech Lecha. But in order to take the journey inward, I have to accept the fact who I am is because this is who I choose to be. So that's good news and bad news. Because if I'm not happy with who I am, I don't have anyone to blame but myself. I made that decision. The good news is, if I am who I am because it's who I chose to be, then I can be who I truly want to be because I can choose that as well. Man has free choice. We have the ability to overcome all of the obstacles, internal obstacles, not necessarily external, internal obstacles which hold us back. Once you recognize that, then the journey of Lech Lecha can truly begin. So we should be Zocheh Meretz Hashem that the same way Avram Avinu found the courage to take the journey inward, to find who he was, to go ahead and exercise his free will, to recognize that change in every area is possible. We, his grandchildren, should in Meretz Hashem find the strength to take the same journey as well.